a lot smoother, and I wouldn't have to ad hoc things. Welcome our guests. Here, thank you for bearing with us for this kind of pulling this together by the seat of our pants. Please welcome Vince Bullinger.
Excuse me. Who's the body editor for each one?
I'll evaluate this.
All right. Welcome. Good morning. Today we're going to take a first look at Silverlight 5. In case you didn't know, Silverlight 5 is not out yet. They did very recently release a release candidate for it. We're going to take a good look at it today. This is a mini version of my speech I'm going to be giving at Code Camp next month. Eventually, this will work. Really? Is it up there? That's weird. Check them out. Okay, so eyes. I can only go forward. All right. And I will not make it. All right. So today's agenda. This is just a teaser of my speech that I'll be giving at Code Camp. I'll be mentioning a whole bunch of topics, but I won't have enough time to really get into them. I'm only going to really discuss a few here and there. We're going to talk about new revelations in Silverlight for binding, graphics, media, text, operating system integration, productivity and performance, controls, and miscellaneous. All right, so new developments in binding. You'll be able to set breakpoints in your example. If you think about that, that's pretty powerful. Instead of just putting in your code behind, you'll be able to take a look at what is being bound, for example, so you won't have to set any kind of breakpoint or any kind of context changing to actually be able to debug that. Custom type provider, custom markup extension, so that you can have whatever kind of markup you want in your example. That's pretty interesting and powerful. Ancestor relative source binding, so instead of having to point to a particularly named item, you could say, look at my parent or my grandparent. Implicit data types, so you have kind of a default data template if you don't give a specific style template. Binding in the style setters, you have a new event called the data context change event. So if the data context change, you can look at that. The property change is now an update source trigger option. In the graphics, they spent a lot of time improving the graphics stack. They took a lot of the best practices from XNA and Windows Phone 7 and brought that into Silverlight, including the 3D API, the 3D built-in effects, 3D render targets, so you don't have to just target the screen. You can have a render target set to any element within your Silverlight application. 3D surface composition settings and 3D multi-sample and anti-aliasing. So that's going to make it a lot more crisp. If you notice, a lot of the graphics in Silverlight are sometimes a bit spotty. For media, they brought in, again, bringing in some things from XNA, the low latency sound from the XNA sound effect API. Now, H.264 media is going to be coded by the hardware, not the software, which is actually going to provide a giant performance boost. There will be variable speed playback, so you could play back at a higher or lower speed, but it'll actually keep the pitch, so it won't sound like chipmunks. Remote control, like the Xbox 360 remote control, and the media keys on your keyboard, like play, pause, mute, volume up, things like that, you'll be able to access those through Silverlight 5. For text, you have text tracking and text leading, and linked rich text boxes. This is all about trying to be able to control the flow, add spacing, connect rich text boxes, things like that, so you can flow them around images or media within your down page. Multi-column text seems like a no-brainer. Open type support filing. This came out in 1996. Kind of amazing. It took several years to give support in Silverlight. And pixel snap text and text options. If you haven't noticed, sometimes text is a bit spotty and the graphics are a bit poor in Silverlight. I've definitely noticed that. So it's going to be a lot crisper in Silverlight 5. Operating system integration is kind of a big thing that they're pushing. I'm not quite sure why. I guess to kind of wedge out their competition, I guess. But anyway, platform invoke support, so you can call unmanaged code from Silverlight. Multiple windows, you can communicate with multiple windows from Silverlight now. If you give full trust to your application, you can actually have unlimited, unrestricted file system access. Before, if you remember, you could only access my documents. Full trust in browsing, which is what interesting to me. In your save dialog and open file dialog, you'll get to be able to give a default name. 64-bit browser support, and power awareness for media. So if you are watching a video or something, you can now listen to the power availability of your screen and be able to tell the user, oh, your laptop is about to die, you should probably stop watching videos. Productivity and performance. This is kind of a big thing because sometimes Silverlight apps are a bit weak. Network latency improvements. The client HTTP web request supposedly is 90% faster, which is pretty amazing to me. Data binding debugging. So like I was saying before, you can actually look at what your data binding did. The SAML parser was drastically improved, and that's especially for use controls and resource dictionaries. There's a multi-core just-in-time compiler, so when you first start up your application, it'll start up a lot faster. Just you notice a lot of times you have a bigger Silverlight app, takes a little while. You'll be able to start it up quickly, and it'll just-in-time compile the fixed needs later. Hardware accelerated rendering in IE9. Alright, controls. If you ever tried to capture a double click like I have in Silverlight, you can't do it right now, but you will in Silverlight 5. Not only double click, but any number of clicks, 3, 4, 5. Pete Brown actually tested 157 clicks. I don't know why, but he did. Pivot viewer, I have nowhere near enough time to give it justice, but imagine deep zoom plus collection. Combo box, type ahead, and incremental search. So as you're typing in whatever it is you're trying to search for in the box, when it drops down on the list, it'll actually kind of pre-select the closest thing to what you're typing. Kind of like, looking to start typing first name, that kind of thing. Other things, in-browser HTML. You used to be able to have the web browser control, but only out of browser. I can do it in browser. I always thought that was weird you couldn't do it in browser. Now you can. Postscript vector printing. If you look at Silverlight printing now, you can only do it, they use bitmap-based printing. So basically, whenever you want to print something in Silverlight, you send a giant bitmap to the printer, which is terribly inefficient and it looks bad. So now they're using something, Postscript-based vector printing, which is a lot faster and a lot more accurate. Tasks from the task parallel library. We're not going to get the parallel effects from the task parallel library, but we will get the asynchronous options. It's a pretty huge step, but not quite all the way. C# covariance and contravariance is now going to be available to everyone. So again, this is just a teaser. I'm only scratching the surface for what I'm actually going to talk about. I'll go in depth a lot further at Code Camp, and I will also give a bunch of demos, which I obviously don't have time for today. It is October 8th and 9th at the University of Minnesota. The schedule is not quite out yet, so I don't know what time we'll be speaking, but we'll be on one of those days. If more information comes out about Silverlight 5, because it's still very new, then I'll definitely try to include it. Same thing. Thank you very much, everyone.
That's a great introduction to Silverlight 5. A little blast us, all the new features. Some really exciting stuff if you're a Silverlight developer. But next, we're going to learn about the other side of the world, the web world. Alice is going to talk to us about jQuery.